Greetings, 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 peace, love, harmony, and light. This is Chief-Kalinago with another video. Family, today I'm going in, I'm going deep. I mean, literally, get your pen, get your pads, because this is going to be off the chain. All right. First off, I want to give thanks and acknowledgement to the Great Spirit. I want to acknowledge the Great Spirit, universal intelligence, what people may call God. All right. I also want to give thanks and acknowledge my ancestors, each and every one of them, you know, from the four corners of the earth that came before me. And I'm thankful for the guidance and protection and always using me as a vessel. All right. So with that being said, allow me to greet each and every one of you with love, you know, humbleness and appreciation. Do me a favor, please. Go ahead and share that video, because I'm going deep today, man. Seriously, we are going sea diving. We're going to talk about a lot of things in this video, so get your pen and your pad, or you could go back and look at the video. All right. Now, let me get a feedback. Let me know if I'm good on Facebook, if I'm good on YouTube, because I'm actually streaming on both platforms right now. So let me know if we are good. All right. Let me know if we're good on Facebook. Give me a thumbs up. If we're good on Facebook, sound is good. Everything is good on YouTube as well. You know what I mean? Let me know what's good. Like I said, today I'm going in. I'm going to talk about the census. I'm going to talk about citizenship. I'm going to talk about naturalization. I'm going to talk about the malls. I'm going to talk about so-called white people, Caucasians, free white person, what all that stuff means. All right. We are good. Like I said, man, this is probably going to be one of I'm just saying, man, this video is going to be off the chain. That's what I'm going to say, right? So with that being said, let me give you guys some time to share that video. Go ahead, share it across your platform while I pull something else up for you guys, all right? Because we are going in for real, for real. All right? Give me a second here. And it's such a beautiful day, man. It's such a beautiful day, for real, man. Let me see. This is all right. Give me a second. I'm looking for something. I mean, it just crossed my mind. So give me a second. All right. Give me a second here, guys. Let me. I'm gonna mute myself here for a second. All right. All right, so I'm back, family. I'm back. All right, so we're about to get into this. Okay, let me just highlight a couple of the fam that's on right now. At least in the chat. Breezy Universe, what it is. Thank you for tuning in. Big up to Zazie. What the deal is, man. I appreciate y'all. All right, so we're about to get into this. The first thing I'm going to do is I would like you to listen to a video, right? Because we have to go to the surface, all right? We have to dive deep, deep, deep to kind of resurface some of the things that a lot of people are missing. A lot of people are missing a lot of things, and that's why there's so much confusion amongst the so-called black population. And I'm saying so-called black because no one is black. You feel me? But with that being said, you will see why there is so much of confusion, because the people who call themselves black, they don't know where they are from. That's the problem. They think they're Africans. They think they are actually a color in a crayon box, and that's the problem. So we are going to go to the surface. Now, a lot of the things that I'm going to share with you today, again, some of you may take it personal, but it's not personal for me, in the sense that I'm going to present the facts. Facts over feelings, and documentation beats conversation. So I'm going to give all the documentation. So I'm going to play a video, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about and what I was talking about once I'm done with this video. All right. Greetings, Sister Onyx. Peace and love. All right. So let's get into this, because it's important. You know, today is this so-called June 10th. You know what I mean? And you guys already know about that. So I think today's a perfect day. As a matter of fact, I actually had a meeting in about 13 minutes, and I just called my brother and postponed that because this video came to my spirit, and I just literally put everything together that I'm going to present right now. I literally did that within the past 45 minutes. All right. So bear with me if it seemed like I'm all over the place. All right. But we're going to get through this. All right. We are going to get through this. So let me share my screen and let's move on. Screen share. All righty. Here we are. Let's get into this. Okay. Let's get into this.
Fair use.
All right, the video I'm about to present to you, I don't own the video, I don't own the title or have rights to the title or the audio or the video. However, I'm using the video for educational purposes, and I'm exercising the fair use. Okay, let me make sure that I'm actually good on Facebook as well, because like I said, give me a second here. All right, good. Let me turn down my volume. All right, good. So I think we're good. Okay.
Fair use. Fair use.
Okay, let's go. Now, this video I'm about to share with you. Okay, this is a video. I'm not sure, but it's Candace Owens and T.I. get into heated debate about Black America. Okay, and we're gonna listen to the video. In between the video, I'm going to pause. I'm going to make comments. But for the most part, we are going to get into this. So do me a favor, guys. Go ahead and share the information. We're going to break this down. We have a lot to discuss, a lot to disseminate, and let's make sense out of all this nonsense that's going on. You did? Let's get this. Let's get this popping.
Because you're making light of.
No, I'm not.
You're making light
I haven't gotten to I'm not
of people that look like us. You can't make light of that. That ain't nothing you breeze over.
I haven't even finished the sentence. How am I making light of anything?
With some bullshit. Same thing on the other side. How are we negotiating? What is the negotiation tactics so that we're not acquiescing to somebody else's agenda, but being clear about ours in the process of giving them our support?
Well, I would say the first thing is that it's important to identify what our agenda actually is. And I think that the most important thing for people in this room to understand is that there is a very small window. Right now, the Black vote is the most important vote in the country. There's a very small window before our vote's not going to matter. These conferences won't matter, and us sitting here won't matter. Because illegal immigration, if you're looking at the numbers, every new birth in this country, 60% of all new births are Hispanic Americans. And the Democrats are about, you listen, you're saying, let me get to the point. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with it. I say illegal is the new black because it's true. And there's a reason why they're advocating for open borders. Right now, our vote means a lot, but new births of Black Americans have stagnated. The population growth within Black America has stagnated. So the things that I pay attention to are the numbers. I pay attention to the birth rates in this country, which is why I'm pro putting something down to stop illegal immigration. The second thing that I think is really important, and you may
let me just pause.
have heard me testify in front of Congress, is the...
Let me pause this here for a second, right? First off, this is a debate, all right? This is a debate. And for those of you who truly know the etymology of words, a debate means to beat up. That's what they're doing. You see, all that to me is for entertainment purposes. That's all it's for. Entertainment purposes. You feel me? It is to get people hyped. It is to get in people's emotions and use their emotions to further agendas, whether the agenda may be a Democratic agenda or a Republican agenda. The agenda is not about people per se. The agenda is about parties. And to me, all this is about entertainment. That's what it is, because it's a debate. You feel me? That's what it is. And again, that's just my opinion. I'm just here voicing my opinion. All right. So they start off both sides, C.I. and Candace, they started off on the premise of just being a color. You see, that's the problem. And people, for some reason, people just cannot seem to get the foundation of the problem that we are dealing with. That is the foundation of the problem that we are dealing with, that grown people are walking around calling themselves colors in a crayon box. So all of them are lost, and none of them will resolve anything of this so-called black America, because there's no such thing as black America, as there's no such thing as white America. Okay, so that's the problem. The illusion is the problem. Okay, so for one, that's a debate. It's for strictly entertainment purposes, and that is just my opinion. Let's proceed.
Literacy rates that are facing Black America. 75% of Black boys in California can't pass a reading exam. Across Baltimore, they looked at 5 schools. They couldn't find a single Black boy that was a single Black child that could pass a basic reading or a math exam. So I caught a lot of slack because I said this is a Democrat plantation, but I meant what I said. If you look historically at what the plantations were when we were slaves, there were 3 things that were necessary for them to run. The first was our ignorance. Black Americans were not allowed to learn how to read unless we would have our limbs chopped off. And that was because an educated mind cannot be enslaved. So the fact that our education, that our schools are in this condition in the inner cities and all throughout America, and not a single candidate is talking about it, is problematic to me. I think that...
Okay, so here we go. Next point, right? She's talking about Black Americans, slaves on the plantation. Now you see, making that generalization is a problem, and this woman is considered to be an educated woman. But I tell people, there's a difference between education, wisdom, intelligence. There's a difference. Because you're educated doesn't mean you know the truth. It just means that you are book smart. And if you go look again at the etymology of smart, it means to be in pain. That's why a lot of these people are in pain, because they are smart and they are educated, but they are not using wisdom. They're not using intelligence. They're not using discernment. You feel me? They're just classifying, okay, and categorizing every person with a brown skin as Black, and that everybody came here on slave ships and everybody was on the plantation. But let me ask Miss Candace Owens, and don't get me wrong, Candace is an educated woman, all right? she's educated, and I'm not taking anything away from her. I'm not here to beat her or T.I. down. I'm just here to disseminate the information that they are given. Okay? That's what I'm here for. So back to the point that I was making. When you make a generalization of saying that Black Americans were on plantations, well, let me ask you a question, Candace Owens or T.I. or anybody on that platform, Big Mike, any one of y'all. Do you know that so-called Black people were owners of plantations? Okay? Even before the so-called white man became slave owners. Do you know it was the so-called Black people who were the slave owners? You see, those things are not being taught because they want to perpetuate the war between so-called Black people and white people, which is, this is not what the war is about. The systematic issues that we're having is not black and white, but you see, it has to be promoted as black and white. It has to be promoted that way. But they're not going to talk about the so-called Black slave owners who owned Black slaves and so-called white slaves, Asian slaves. Nobody's going to talk about that. It's either they don't know or they are evading that fact. So when you say Black Americans were on the slave plantations, are you talking about them being on the slave plantation as slaves or slave owners? That's why I said we are going deep. We are going deep because this is very important, man. It is very important because we are dealing with a people that's lost. We are dealing with a people that has no identity. We are dealing with a people that's seeking and searching for an identity and don't know how to do it. So their emotions are being played on and they are all over the place looking and seeking and will not take the time to do the true research, get the facts and deal with the facts. They are only dealing with what they were taught. And because it was taught to you, it doesn't mean that it was true. You feel me? Because it was taught to you, it doesn't mean that it was a fact. Because when we are dealing with history, those are two compound words. All right, that's a compound word. It's made up of two words, his and story. So therefore, his story is someone's perspective. His story is not our story. But people seem to be missing that. Just like Black History Month. Black History Month is Black His Story Month. So that story is being told based on his perspective. But they are not going deep enough to the foundation of what's truly happening. So this woman may be smart, this woman may be educated, but she don't know the facts. She don't know the facts. This woman is clearly brown or copper toned, but she's calling herself Black. She don't look anything like her hair. As a matter of fact, not even her hair is black. Because if you look towards the right side of the shading, the way the light is falling on her hair, right? You could see there's a brown texture in there. So her hair is not even black. So things are not always the way they seem. Okay? So this is a debate. They are beating up on each other and there's not going to be any resolve. Period. Let's proceed.
That's a huge negotiating tool for me. We need to be talking about the inner city schools. Another component, and this is the biggest issue that I think is facing Black America today, which was important to maintaining the plantations, was the breakdown of family. The biggest issue facing Black America is father absence. We have children that are growing up without their fathers in the home, and that is being incentivized by the government right now via the welfare system. When the government says we'll give you more money if you don't marry the father of your children, you are incentivizing bad behavior in our community. What happens when you remove a father from the home? This is why I do not mess with feminism at all. I'm not with it. This breakdown and mocking masculinity, making it seem like there's something wrong to be a man, all of this contributes to the breakdown of family. When you
All right, y'all.
remove...
Hey, hold on. So, hold on, brother, hold on. There's going to be an opportunity for each of you to engage, but I want to make sure this sister has the right to talk while she's here. That's why we invited her. So
It's
let her
okay.
say what she needs to say, and then let's keep it moving. Come on, y'all.
The single motherhood rate in the 1960s in Black America, and they thought that...
Now, at a,
The
hold
single-
on.
hold on, I want to finish this.
No, this is on your behalf. At a certain point, we can't hoes. At a certain point, these are black men and women, and in particular, these are black women. Like on some real G. It doesn't matter how you feel about her personally. Everything she has just said, Louis Farrakhan said for the last 25 years. So with no. And I don't know if she's a fan of Farrakhan. I know me and Speak are. Bam. But you cannot take the truth and be mad at who tells it to you. So just chill, bro. Shut up. Let her say it and receive the information. That's it. I apologize. I digress.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you so much.
I want
you to continue because I was listening.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been turned into public enemy number one. I say the same thing when I hit every stage. The single motherhood rate in the Black community in the 1960s, before Lyndon Baines Johnson started the Great Society Act, was 23%. At that time, that was considered very high. 23% of Black people growing up without a father in the home. The single motherhood rate in the Black community today is 74%. 74% of our children are growing up without a father in the home. It was Barack Obama, who I don't even really have anything for, who told you what happens when you remove a father from the home. You're 9 times more likely to end up in prison. You're 6 times more likely to drop out of high school, and you're 12 times more likely to lead a life of poverty. Why is nobody talking about father absence, and why do we keep being silenced when we actually do? This is what Black conservatism is, by the way. It's not that controversial.
How do we begin to really deal with that? Because the federal government creating zones has normally been the places where gentrification starts first.
Okay, so that was my point. I had a question for both of you young ladies, and Candace, we spoke many times, and you're extremely a brilliant young lady. But my question to you is, how is it that you can support yourself? I mean, that you can support and align with a constituency that will not denounce white supremacy? So that means your son or daughter, or your or any of your brothers or any of your family members, if they are caught out there by a policeman who is in a covert, undercover white supremacist and get gunned down, this constituency will have absolutely nothing to say about it.
Please let me answer this question. Please let me answer this question.
And we can't. Although what you're saying is a lot of the things that you're saying are absolutely factual. A lot of the things that you're saying have merit, but I can't even get to that before I address.
I will address it right now. I will address it right now.
Lives,
I love it.
You will not
I love
speak
it.
up on it at all.
Love this question. I will address it.
Things that you spoke on from opportunity zones.
I love that we're talking about white supremacy.
Okay.
I'll answer the question.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may. You're talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party. I'm a rich person, and I appreciate. You dig what I'm saying?
Negro rich.
Hey, listen. I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunities on benefit, but
it's called a crooked clock is right twice a day.
Right. I get that, but what we must understand when we're talking about opportunity zone, if we're giving the credit to the person who pushed that legislation forward, which has started with Tim Scott, a black man who happens to be a Republican out of South Carolina. That's who wrote the legislation and presented it. However, the present president, if you can call it that, he did allow it to go through. But that had to, in order to benefit from opportunity zones, you have to have capital gains taxes. It ain't many black people in these opportunity zones that have capital gains taxes be able to reap the benefits of these things. Therefore, it will be billionaire corporations, other people who ain't from these communities, coming in here building don't need, doing
Okay, let's talk. Let's take a pause here for a second, right? So we're talking about tax brackets and black people, and T.I. saying that black people will never be in these positions. Well, T.I., you consider yourself a black man. How come that you are in that position? Right? How come you're in the position that you're saying black people would never be in that position? So, in other words, this has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It's about education of the mind. It's about the knowledge. That's what it's about. You see, once again, when these people are talking, all you have to do is listen. Listen. Hear what they're saying. Now, he's saying, well, I'm a rich man because I fall into the tax gain bracket that the majority of black people don't fall under. Well, T.I., why not? How come you consider yourself to be a black man, all right, and you are getting all these perks from these tax breaks and benefits because of tax gains, but other so-called black people aren't? Aren't you a black man too as well, T.I.? So how come you are able to be in that situation? Differentiate yourself from these other black people that you are so-called standing on their behalf. But how come you are rich? Because you have taken advantage of these tax breaks. But the people that you're calling black, they are not in that category. Is it because of the color of their skin, or is it because of ignorance? You see, when you take your emotions out of situations and you don't make it so personal and you look at it for what it is, then you tend to see it from a different perspective. Pull yourself out of the situation for once. Get out of the box and look in from the outside. And I promise you, you will start seeing things differently with a different pair of lens. Because the last time I heard, T.I. said he was black. So maybe, T.I., what you should be doing is teaching the so-called black people exactly what you did. That's what you should be teaching them. But all y'all do is flash what y'all got and speak about how rich y'all are, and then blame everything else on everybody's black skin, knowing damn well it ain't got nothing to do with skin color. It's about the knowledge. It's about the information. But I digress. Let's proceed.
That don't help us, but they do that so they can shelter their taxes. Now, I've been investing in opportunity zones all my life. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be damned if anybody gonna benefit from it, it ain't gonna be me. So
okay, let's pause here for a second. T.I. said that he has been investing in these opportunity zones for a very long time. So T.I., that means that you are privy to some information that these black people aren't privy to. Now let's talk about opportunity zones. What are you talking about, T.I.? Jails and prisons in our communities? And I'll be damned if they invest in it in my community and I'm not. You see, y'all got to read between the lines, man. Y'all got to read between the lines. What are we talking about here, T.I.? You have been invested in that for a very long time. Who taught you that? Because I know you didn't learn that in school. So who taught you about these tax zones and these investments that you so speak of that made you rich? If you knew about it for a very long time, T.I., why weren't you, or why haven't you been teaching these so-called black people about that? Oh, that's not what your songs were talking about. Nah, because you see, y'all don't teach those things. So what I tell people, when we stop looking at other people and blaming people and start looking at ourselves, we will start seeing the problem. Because you see, when you look in the mirror, that's when you're going to see the devil. The devil look just like you. The devil don't look like nobody else. This imaginary persona of a devil that they give you with a red outfit and red horns and a pitchfork somewhere in the sky or somewhere below the earth in some fire, waiting for people to do the wrong thing, to go to hell, is an illusion. The devil is looking right back at you every time you look in the mirror. And anytime you choose not to do the righteous thing, then you are the devil. You are an adversary of the righteous people. Because that's what Satan means. Adversary. Anybody could be an adversary. Anybody. So Mr. T.I., you said that you have been privy to that information for a very long time. Why didn't you teach it? That is my question to you, my brother. Because you see, people listen from an emotional standpoint, and they're looking at it from an entertainment perspective. So whatever comes out of your mouth may seem to be facts because they have idolized the celebrity in you. You see, I don't idolize celebrities, so let's break that down some more.
but I actually know the need of the community. You have these systems in place, but the people who have the most.
And T.I., personally, in my opinion, I don't think you know the need of the community. You know the want of the community. You see, a want is not a need. You see what I'm saying? A want is not a need. If you were focused on the need of the community, then for one, this topic wouldn't be about black people. Because so-called black people need to know the truth. But you see, they want the truth, but they need the truth, but what they're getting is what they want. There's a difference. They are not getting what they need. So you don't know the need of the people, or you may know the need of the people, but you are not giving them the need. You are giving them a want. You are giving them what they want to hear and not what they need to hear. There's a difference between a want and a need. I am giving you what you need because you are getting the facts. But these platforms are all about what you want. You want to hear that black is a nationality. You want to hear that black people are real. You want to hear that black lives matter. Those are wants. But what you need to hear is black people don't exist. What you need to hear is black is not a nationality. What you need to hear is black is a color in a crayon box. That's what you need to hear. You need to hear the truth. So don't confuse your wants with your needs, my brother. Don't do that. Let us proceed.
The most ability to take advantage and who are readily able to take advantage of the people who have absolutely no genuine interest to do anything to support this community that they're coming into. They have there's no real tangible investment. They're just doing it to shelter their tax dollars.
So thank you, Tip. Hold on, Katrina. I want Candace to talk about your first point.
Yeah.
And then Katrina, you respond to the second point.
All right. So to tackle the white supremacy thing, your question was a fallacy because you. And you insinuated that he has not denounced white supremacy. Go to his somebody please go to his Twitter feed right now. Right now. Go back to the shootings. He said no, because we gotta tell the truth.
Okay, for some reason, this is taking some time to buffer up. All right, but let me just give you the premise of the rest of this video, right? So now she's talking about the fact that T.I. is alluding to Donald Trump being a white supremacist, and he's supporting the white supremacist movement, right? But once again, when we look about race, right, racist has nothing to do with ethnicity in its early stages. Racism and white supremacy, or just racism on a whole, dealt with fascism, okay? And that had nothing to do with the Americas, period. But a lot of people don't look into the root of the words and where all these things came from and how does it apply to anyone. Now, in the context of what we call in being a racist, everyone is a racist, because what that means is, it means that you want your race to be better than every other race. How many of you so-called black people continuously speak of your melanin and that melanated people? But here's the truth. Everyone has melanin. Even Caucasian people have melanin. So when people talk about, oh, we melanated people, what are you talking about? Everyone on the planet has melanin. So it goes to show the ignorance of people. And by anyone using their skin complexion or their genetics to claim superiority over any other ethnic group, in my opinion, that is called racism. So everybody is racist. Everybody is racist. Because again, based on the definition of what racism is in today's society, it means that you feel that your race is superior. So isn't that racism? Just because you don't have the military power to dominate doesn't mean that you are not racist. Again, based on today's definition of racism. So when people speak, sometimes I just listen, man. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's pointless to get into this nonsensical debates with people. because they're dealing strictly from an emotional standpoint and they're not dealing with facts. So all what T.I., Big Mike, Candace, this whole platform to me is about entertainment. That's all it is. And they are discussing issues that people want to hear and not what people need to hear. You feel me? There's a complete difference, a big difference in wanting and needing. You feel me? Because if they got the truth that they needed, we wouldn't be having these situations right now. Okay? So I'm not even going to play the rest of the video. The point is they were going back and forth, and to me that's a debate. All right? Because whether they left the platform feeling resentment to each other, my question is the solution. What was the solution? There was no resolve because they still left that platform calling themselves a color in a crayon box. And that is my point. So what we're going to do now, as a matter of fact, all the information that I'm sharing with you right now, I put all that information in the link below the video. So you have the option to go finish up the information and look at it for yourself. All right. But to me, there was no resolve because at the continuation of life, they are all still dead in the eyes of the Lord. Okay. They are still dead in the eyes of the Lord, period. So let's proceed. Okay. What we're going to do now, we're going to go to a couple of slides and some information that I came up with, because now we're going to get into the census. All right. So before I get into what's naturalization, let us get into the census here for a second. All right. Because a lot of people have been asking about the census and all this stuff and all that. So we are going to break a few things down. But again, just to summarize the video that we just watched, it was a debate dealing with the issues of so-called Black people. But I'm here to tell you all that to me. And again, that is my opinion. In my opinion, all that is just vamping people up, telling them what they want to hear and what and not what they need to hear. I'm sharing information with you that you need to hear. So let us go into the census and race and ethnicity, the U.S. Census Bureau. Okay. But before we do that, let us go into the etymology of the word census. We have to go to the root of the word. Okay, census. Where is that at? No, that's census. I'm looking for census. All right, census. Here we go. And then I'll go back to race and ethnicity. All right, census, a noun. 1610, in reference to registration and taxation in Roman history. All right, so census has to do with a registration and taxation in Roman history, from Latin census, the enrollment of the names and property assessments of all Roman citizens. Now let me ask you, so-called Black people, are you Roman citizens? Let me ask you, Aboriginals, are you Roman citizens? Or maybe you are. I don't know. You see, I'm giving you information you need, not information you want. I'm dealing with needs right now. This is need to know. Once again, census 1610, in reference to what? Registration and taxation in Roman history, from Latin census, the enrollment of the names and property assessments of all Roman citizens. So with that being said, it is safe to assume that if they didn't register for those censuses, then they were not taxable. You see, it's a contract. But you know, what do Chief-Kalinago know? Huh? Sometimes maybe I'm just talking, right? But I am here to present the facts, the documentation that's going to beat all conversation. Now, let us go again. Originally, past participle of sincere, to assess, see censo. The modern use of census as official enumeration of the inhabitants of a country, a state, with details, begins in the US what? In 1790. The first census was held in 1790 in the United States. Now let me ask you a question. It is a fact that there were indigenous people in the United States before any other foreigners came. So we are the aboriginals. We are the people who has been here from time immemorial. We never had a census. The inception of the census wasn't until 1790. And even then, the people they labeled or the people they coined the American Indians, which is us, we were not allowed to participate in the census. Well, Chief, you may ask, they may ask why. It is because we had our own form of government. We had our own form of government. And therefore, we were dealing with all foreign entities on our land from a government to government basis. In other words, you don't mess with us, we don't mess with you in terms of our laws. However, we could come to the table together from a government to government basis and deal with issues that affect us all. Once again, even before the census, going further back into time, after all the wars and all the smoke was cleared, you had three powers on the land. You have the Republic, you had the United States, and you had the Iroquois Confederacy. The Iroquois Confederacy were to deal with the indigenous people, aka the American Indians. The United States were to deal with their subjects, meaning that so-called pale people, what you call white people, and their posterity, meaning that their children. And the Republic were to deal with the people who look just like us. In other words, so-called black people who came from across the seas. They created the Republic. So as a matter of fact, the Republican Party was stemmed from so-called black people. But a lot of you don't know the truth. And don't get me wrong, I don't get caught up in politics, because I call it politics because it's all a trick. So I call it politics. And you know the commercial, City Rabbits, tricks are for kids. I'm not a damn goat. So I don't get involved in politics. However, in the politics of things, there were to be three powers. The United States for the pale people, all right, or people who are considered white, so to speak, okay? And the Republic with the so-called black people who came here. Some of them, yes, were Moors, but not all of them were Moors, okay? They were just so-called black people of nobility that came from across the waters. And you had the Iroquois Confederacy that were to deal with the American Indians, okay? But when the so-called white man or the pale man or the United States, when the United States started to gain power, they say, you know what, now we are in control. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our own census and put everybody under one umbrella because we are the power right now. Okay? So the Republic had to fall back. The Iroquois Confederacy was disseminated. All right? It was disseminated. And from that, there was an infiltration. Hence, the 5 civilized tribes were created. And they add one more to make it 6. So there were 6 civilized tribes. Okay? 6 civilized tribes. And that's where all, now you have the institution of the BIA, which is the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Changing, getting rid of all the original people, all the aboriginals, and creating new organizations. The Cherokee Nation is one of them. Because Cherokee is not the original people. Cherokee means the burning people. In other words, they burned out the Anionwea, which is the principal people or the leading people. And yes, you had a lot of so-called black people, all right, that came from the other side. They were part of the republic that say, you know what, now we still want to be in power, so we are going to side with the United States and we are going to help them create the civilized tribes. Can y'all handle the truth? That's my question. Okay? So that's where that word census came from. Rome. It only dealt with Roman citizens. So why are you here calling yourself black, African American, indigenous, Aboriginal American Indian, and you're fighting to do a census? That makes you taxable. That puts you in a tax bracket. Once again, I'm just going to look at the etymology of the word in reference to what? Registration and taxation in Roman history. The enrollment of names and property so that they could, why do you think you pay land taxes? That is because you do their census. You have a contract. Voters registration, that's another contract. But a lot of you are just talking. Let us get to the meat and potatoes right now. Now, I don't claim to know everything. In fact, I don't know anything, but I'm just giving you the facts. All right, so let us go into what I was talking about now. All right, race and ethnicity. All right, we got a lot of information I'm going to share today. So, like I said, if you could, go back and look at the video, get your pen and your pad, and let's make this happen, right? The U.S. Census Bureau considers race and ethnicity to be two separate and distinct concepts. What is race? For all those of you talking about racism, right? Okay, let's go. What is race? The Census Bureau defines race as a person's self-identification with one or more social groups. You see what race is? Race has nothing to do with the color of your skin. For all my people that are out there practicing or just dwelling in ignorance, race has nothing to do with the color of your skin. But you see, where they tricked you is, let's look at what race is again. Let us look at what race is again, man. You have to read with understanding. Don't read to finish. I want you to read to start. And that's what we're going to do right now. Okay? Basic 101 in reading. Reading fundamentals. Read with comprehension. The Census Bureau defines race as a person's self-identification with one or more social groups. Self-identification. It is the same thing that on-drip speak about. It's the same thing that A-drip speak about. So yes, based on the census, black is a race. You see how they tricked you into that. They tricked you into believing that a color is a race. All right. No, we're going to get into this. We're going to get into this. But it is self-identification. It is this. The census never told you that you cannot be Anyon or Blackfoot or whatever you want to call yourself, or indigenous or aboriginal. The census never told you that you could be that. They just gave you options. They gave you options. Okay? Just like on that W-4, they say what? If you believe that you are tax exempt, put that down. But they give you an examples of what tax exempt means, and you think, oh, that don't fit. I don't fit that criteria. You see, technology. If I don't give you that option on that paper, then you may not use your unlimited potential of thinking to realize that you could put your own category, that you have a right to self-identify. You feel me? Once again, when you read with understanding, you see past the blurred lines. Okay? What is race? The Census Bureau defines race as a person's self-identification with one or more social groups. In your home, If you want to identify yourself as grasshoppers, then that's your race. Because it says what? Self-identification with one or more social groups. In your home, that's called a group. It's a social group. That's your family is a social group. That's one or more than one person or people. Well, people is plural. It's more than one person. So therefore, if you call yourself grasshoppers in your home and you say that's my race, then they have to respect that. Like I told y'all before, everything is voluntary. Everything is voluntary, but you don't read between the lines. You go with the status quo. So you see, it is not the color of your skin that's putting you in the predicament that you are. It's your ignorance. Because you chose a color to be your race, a color that's in a crayon box. But what they didn't tell you is within law, black means Negro, all right? And federally, Negro has no standing because your President Obama passed that in a resolution. Okay, tell me when to stop. Tell me when, Chief, you know what? You're making too much sense. Stop. I'll end the video right now. Okay? Let us proceed. An individual can report as white, black, or African American, Asian American Indian, and Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, and other Pacific Islander, or some other race. Survey respondents may report multiple races. What is ethnicity? So once again, race deals with a person's choice of self-identification with one or more people or social groups. In their definition, that's race. They never said race had anything to do with the color of your skin. Okay? It is a social group. So being black is a social group. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. All right, let us proceed. What is ethnicity? It says, ethnicity determines whether a person is of Hispanic origin or not. For this reason, ethnicity is broken out into two categories: Hispanic or Latino, and not Hispanic or Latino. Hispanics may report as any race. You hear that? So Hispanics is not a race. Hispanic is an ethnicity. All right, let's proceed. Can the information be used to enforce immigration laws on me or my family? No. The Census Bureau adheres to strict confidentiality laws that prohibit sharing of respondent information. It doesn't mean that they won't or they can't. All right? We do not share respondent answers with immigration, law enforcement, tax collection agencies, or any other organizations. Now, that's what they say, right? Now, what region of origin? Once again, origin, point of origin. Does census consider for each race category? Remember again, race has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It is a social group. All right? So now we say white. White is Europe. White is considered, again, we're not dealing with the color of your skin. White, Europe, Middle East, or North Africa. Pay attention, North Africa. But guess what? Black or African American, straight out Africa. Africa. Now let me ask you a question, right? What if some of your ancestors, so what you're trying to tell me, no slaves came from North Africa? You see, when you start using your mind and you start thinking, you'll realize that all this is a bunch of BS. Now let me ask you, for all those of you who think you came here on slave ships from Africa, you're trying to tell me that no slaves came from North Africa? None whatsoever. But yet still they say black people and African Americans, they came from Africa. Well, how is that they have white people that came from North Africa? Why they are not just called Africans? Uh-oh. Chief, maybe you're saying too much, Chief. Maybe you should slow down. I would like this to sink in. I'm not the one saying it. The Census Bureau is the one saying it. White, Europe, Middle East, North Africa, black, or two dead entities, black or African American, Africa, just Africa, period. That's what it is. Okay? That's what it is, right? And then we have American Indian or Native or Alaskan Native, North America, South America, Central America, period, American Indian. Okay? It still doesn't say anything about the color of your skin, because remember, race deals with the classification, deals with a group of people that you identify with. So why black people just want to be Africans? So you're trying to tell me no slaves came from North Africa, right? But everywhere else in Africa, they came. And you're trying to tell me that no black people was in America, period. Okay. That's the BS y'all want people to believe, right? Let us look at Asian, Far East, South Asia, and Indian. Just Indian. Because there's a difference between American Indian and just Indian. All right. We're talking about the East Indians. All right. And then you have Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, which is Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, and the Pacific Islands. All right. So they're talking about how all that stuff is collected. We don't have to get into the intricate details of how all that is collected. Now, what we're going to do now, because you see, like I said, we are going deep. I'm going deep today. We are going sea diving. If you cannot breathe, I suggest you ask somebody for some oxygen, because we are going deep. Okay, next. So now that you know, let us summarize. Now that you know what is race, race ain't got nothing to do with the color of your skin. So now you see why they are pushing people to be black. It's a social group. It is not a race based on skin. It's a social group. And that social group is what? Called they're from Africa. Okay? Social group, just somewhere in Africa. No country. Africa have about 54 countries or nations. But they're not telling you where you're from. You just put you in Africa. But yet still, white could be North African. When it comes to white, they're specific though. North African. So they're insinuating that there were no North Africans that came here as slaves. But yet still, they came from Africa. Now, do you see the contradiction in that BS? All righty. So once again, what is race? The Census Bureau defines race as the person's what? Self-identification. So when these things are happening to you black people, it is because of your choice. Now, I know a lot of that may rub a lot of you the wrong way, but I'm not here to pacify you. I'm giving you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. You feel me? Okay? All righty. Now that you have a white person or white people, let us go see what, let's get into this right here now. So I'm done with this. Let's minimize that. And then we are going to look at what is a free white persons, or who are free white persons. Okay? Y'all think this is a game, huh? All right. Remember, North Africans are considered white. Okay, let's put this into perspective here for a second. All right? Free white person. Free white persons, okay? Free white persons referred to in the Naturalization Act, which we'll take a look at, as amended by the Act July 14th, 1870, has meaning naturally given to it when first used in the first stat 103, comma, lowercase c, period, 3, comma, meaning all persons belonging to European races. Once again, a race is what? A group of people. It has nothing to do with, it's a social group. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. Okay? If that were the case, North Africans wouldn't be considered white. All right? All right, then it says commonly counted as white, and the descendants, including such descendants in all other countries to which they have immigrated. It includes, let's read again, it includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with peoples of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes Magyars, Lapps, Finns, and Basque, and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and what? Moorish inhabitants. Why do you think Moors say they're white? White power. Because they are North Africans. No, this is not Morocco. And no, this is not North Africa. Like I said, facts over feelings. A free white person, Moorish inhabitants of what? Of Spain. But it says what? Let's read again. Let us read with understanding. Let us go back up here. It says what? Including such descendants in other countries to which they have emigrated. Key word. Other countries to which they have immigrated. And it says what? Moorish inhabitants of what? Spain and Sicily and Portugal. The mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and what? North African inhabitants of Sicily, and the mixed Slav and Tatar inhabitants of South Russia. Guess what? It does not mean Caucasian race. Caucasian people are not white. So when you are speaking of racism and white supremacy, how in the hell can these Caucasians be racist when they're not white? Man. And again, I'm not upset. It's the passion in me so that to make you see how nonsensical all this is. Because people don't know and they refuse to see what it is. Why are you calling Caucasians white? They are not white. And even more so, they were not considered in 1870, they were not considered free white persons. As a matter of fact, Moors were considered free than some Caucasians. Once again, it does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic. Okay, so the Semitic Jews are not white. So therefore, the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, were not created by Caucasians. Mongolian peoples, why do you think Mongolian people say what? Oh, the white man came here, or the white man took our land. You see, y'all have to read between the lines, man. You have to read between the lines. And they keep saying they are not white because white is a social group. They are not white. They are of Mongolian descent. Now, a Syrian of Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person. Come on, man. Family, I'm just saying, let's read with a little understanding. All right. So now that we have done census, okay, we are going to continue because it speaks of naturalization. What is naturalization? Naturalization, the act of adopting an alien into a nation and clothing him with all the rights possessed by natural born citizens. Okay? Naturalization is the act adopting an alien into a nation and clothing him with all the rights possessed by a natural born citizen. Now, you could be so-called born in the United States and not be naturalized, or still not be a natural born citizen. Because to be a natural born citizen, we're going to take a look at that as well. So now we know what naturalization is. Let's go look at a natural born citizen. Natural born citizen. A natural born citizen refers to someone who was a U.S. citizen at the time of birth. Because you are born here, it doesn't mean you have to be a citizen. Because if you don't accept the contract of a birth certificate, then you are not a U.S. citizen. It's a contract. Being a U.S. citizen is a choice. Nobody could force you to be a U.S. citizen. It's a choice. It's a contract. Especially indigenous people. You cannot force indigenous people to be part of your society. You cannot do that. It's called forced assimilation. And that goes against self-identification. It's in the census. What is race? The ability to self-identify or associate with what? One or more groups. That's what race is. So the color of your skin is not a race. It's the group that you're associated with is your race. Bloods and Crips is a race. Ah, y'all didn't know, huh? Based on the census. Okay? Bloods and Crips is a race. So if a blood or a Crip were to do the census, they could put blood or Crip. Okay? Y'all don't believe me? Let's go back to what race is again in the census. Race, what it says. What is race? The Census Bureau defines race as a person's what? Self-identification with one or more social groups. Let me know when I'm giving you too much. Let me know when it's hurting your head. Okay? Naturalization or natural born citizen refers to someone who was a United States citizen at birth and did not need to go through a naturalization process later in life. Meaning what? Meaning that you were not adopted as an alien. But all American Indians, they had to be naturalized through the Naturalization Act, which the version of that was what? The 1924 Indian Citizen Act. We were naturalized. Even if you were born, you were still not considered a citizen of the corporation because we had our own entities. So what? We were still considered aliens. So we have to be what? Naturalized through the Indian Citizen Act of 1924. Man. All righty. Let us read some more. Reading is fun for the mental. Political office requirement. The phrase natural born citizen appears in the United States Constitution. In order to become the president of the United States, a person must be a natural born citizen. This natural born citizen clause is located in section ... right? The Constitution does not, you hear that? Check this out. Check this out. The Constitution does not expressly define natural born, nor has the Supreme Court ever ruled precisely upon its meaning. One can be a citizen while not being a natural born citizen if, for example, that persons gain citizenship through the naturalization process. Under the 14th Amendment, naturalization clause and the Supreme Court case United States versus Wong Kim Ark 169 U.S. 649, anyone born on U.S. soil and subject, and guess what? Born and subject to its jurisdiction is a natural born citizen. So even if you were born on U.S. soil, but you are not subject, then you are not a natural born citizen or a U.S. citizen. So like I said, it's optional. It is optional. Okay? Anyone born on U.S. soil and, okay, and it says and, all right, and subject. So if we took away if you said that, yes, I was born on the soil, but I choose not to be subjected to its jurisdiction, then that means you are not a U.S. citizen. It's a contract. This type of citizenship is referred to as birthright citizenship. Okay? But the Constitution and the Supreme Court has never given a ruling, a definitive definition of what it means. So it is all based on interpretation. All based on interpretation. Now let me see if I can pull this up right here. Oh no, I already did that. I know I had something else. Let me see if I could find that. I know I got it somewhere. Give me a second here, guys. All right, preview. Where's that preview at? Okay. Where is that at? I know I got it. Let me stop sharing my screen here for a second. I will come back to you guys in a minute. I just got to find that. All right. Give me a second. All right, here we go. Let me bring this right here. So we spoke of naturalization. We spoke of, all righty. Let us go. We just left naturalization. Let me share my screen again. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. Let me share my screen again. I'm giving you the information you need, not what you want. Okay, I don't deal with the emotions, man. I deal with the facts. All right. Let us go to the Indian Citizen Act. Now, those are not my words. Okay, I'm going to the United States National Archives and Records Administration. Okay, that's their document. That's not Chief-Kalinago's document. That's theirs. Okay, that is theirs. All right, let's go. HR 6355. All right, public number 175, 68th Congress. Now let me show you that we so-called American Indians, even if well, I wasn't born in the United States, so I'm good. But for those of you who know that you're American Indian and you were born in the United States, guess what? You are not a natural born citizen. You are what's called a naturalized citizenship because you were considered aliens and you had to be naturalized. Okay, now let me prove my point. It's the 60th Congress, an act to authorize the Secretary of what? The Interior to issue certificate of citizenship. That's called naturalization. Okay, that is the version for the American Indians. It says what? Okay, be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled that all non-citizen Indians born within the territorial limits of the United States be, and they are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States. Now that's a declaration right there. But they didn't just end there. They said what? Provided that. So my people, there was a provision. Okay? There was a provision. It is contingent. A provision is a contingency. It means that it depends on something. Yes, we are naturalizing you because we considered you an alien. Because before you were considered to be an alien, you had your own systems. You had your own government. You were sovereigns. You had a right to self-identify. But you want to be part of our society, okay? You want to integrate. So for you to integrate, you have to give up being an American Indian. And what we are going to do is we are going to naturalize you. We are going to make you citizens through the naturalization process. And for you American Indians, it's called the American Indian Citizen Act of 1924. So we are making you citizens, okay? Naturalized citizens. Whether you are born here or not, we don't care. Because you are born here, it doesn't mean you're a citizen. You are still considered an alien. Because the United States is something created on this land. It's a foreign entity. And if you want to be a foreigner in your own land, well, become a citizen. That means you have no rights to the soil. Only what we tell you, you have. Now you see the technology? You made yourself a foreigner in your own land. Now it says what? Provided that, it's a provision. Okay, so through that Indian Citizen Act, which is another form of a naturalization act, we are making you citizens. However, by default, it says provided that, in other words, there's a provision. You are a citizen, but that granting of such citizenship, guess what? Shall not in any manner impair. Do you know what impair means? When you are driving intoxicated, it impairs your vision. It hinders your vision. It bothers your vision. It takes away from your discernment, your judgment. It's impaired. So therefore, impair means to damage, take away. So therefore, by us making you citizens, the provision is, if it damages or it takes away or otherwise affect the right of any Indian to a tribal or other property, that means you are not citizens. Do you see why this video was imperative to show you why so-called black people are lost, disenfranchised, they have no identity because they don't know who they are. Man, they don't know who they are, family. They don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. All right. Oh, I'm talking about something else right here. Let me go back. That's not where I want to be. I'm jumping ahead. Let's get back. Okay. Even our so-called American brothers and sisters, they still are confused because they don't know about these things. They still are confused. Now let us read the Indian Citizen Act again of 1924. It says what? Be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that all non-citizen Indians, in other words, you were free. In other words, you have no contracts. Okay? In other words, you were a sovereign. In other words, you were indigenous. You were still an aboriginal. You were still in your natural state. But the United States said, now, you know what? Within the territorial limits of the United States, and they are hereby declared. It's a declaration. They made a declaration. When the United States wanted their independence from England, what they had to do, they had the Declaration of Independence. So you have to declare who you are. I don't care if it's a piece on if it's on a piece of napkin. I don't care if it's on Facebook. I don't care if it's on YouTube. It is still a declaration. Unless you have made your declaration, you are still assumed and it's still presumed that you are an alien, which you truly are. But let me rephrase that, because you are an alien anyway. Because by default, we are not citizens. All right? But without your declaration, it is still assumed and presumed that you are a subject. Okay? That is the proper context. Without your declaration, I don't care if it's very simple on a piece of napkin, I am indigenous, and you post it on social media or you take it to the county clerk, if they want to do their job and allow you to file your document, because they themselves, they are the gatekeepers. They don't want people to file their documents. They're holding you captive. And that's a violation of your right by them not doing their jobs. How is that the United States could make a declaration? How come a declaration could be made to make us citizens? But you see, they have to give you a way out. That's why I said it's all voluntary. They have to give you a way out. That's why they have to put that provision in there. Provided that granting of such citizenship shall not. So by them making us citizens, there is no way it should have impaired or otherwise affect our right of being an Indian or our tribal rights or other property. Let me ask you a question. Do we have our indigenous rights? Do we have our land? Do we have our culture? Do we have our language? No. So therefore, by default, that Naturalization Act is void. It's null and void. It's null and void. Let's proceed. Now this has to be covered here, okay? When we spoke of the where did I have that at? Let me see if it's here. Yes, when we spoke of race, right? We spoke of what they call white as being North African and also Europe and the Middle East. What they're not telling you is the original people of Europe were so-called black people as well. So they are considered white. Well, Chief, how are you going to prove your point? I just showed you when I showed you what free white person meant. But let us dive a little deeper. And once again, it's facts over feelings. This is not personal. I'm just sharing the information. Let us go into Moors. Okay? Let us go into Moors. Who is a Moor? Okay? A Moor is what? A North African, period. Moor, North African. Let us go here. Let us go back here now. Okay? Moor, North African. Let us go back here. What is a white person? A North African. Why do you think when Moors encourage people to do the SF-181 form and put white? It's because they are North Africans. They are Europeans. They are from the Middle East. So this is nothing personal. It's just facts. So to answer the question that many of you are asking me because you're confused, are we all Moors? No, we are not. I am not North African. I'm not from the Middle East. I'm not from Europe. I'm an American Aboriginal. Period. Okay, let's proceed. So a Moor, North African, a Berber, one of the race dwelling in Barbary, late 14th century. Okay, it says what? Inhabitant of Mauritania, what? Roman Northwest Africa. So you see where the census came from? You see where the census came from. Okay? It was people just like you who brought the census into the Americas. Facts over feelings. It was people who looked just like us who came here and enslaved our ancestors. Now, I'm not saying they were all Moors, because some of our ancestors, yes, some of our American Indian ancestors helped them as well. It wasn't just all Moors. It was all the so-called black races as well. So let the truth be told. Let the truth be told. The last great empire in Rome was people who looked just like you. They were Moors. Okay? Now, a lot of my Moorish brothers and sisters like to speak about Black's law and etymology. Well, this is the etymology of Moor. So all of a sudden, why are you negating what the etymology of Moor is? But you're big on etymology. Let us not use etymology when it's convenient for us. It's like religious people using the Bible when it's convenient for them. But when you show them the truth in the Bible, it becomes a violent or a very heated debate. But I'm not here to debate anyone. I am here to drop the facts. Documentation beats conversation. That's why I don't get into debates with people. I just drop the facts. Now, my Moorish brothers, and I'm not here to beat up on Moors. That's not what the purpose of the video is. A lot of people have asked me questions, and I'm just answering the questions with information of facts, because they are still my brothers and sisters. Okay, race is nothing but a social group. Okay, nothing but a social group. And I'm going to conclude this video and show you that we are one blood. Period. Okay, let us rock. My Moorish brothers and sisters, they always speak of etymology and they always speak of the Black's law. Okay, they always speak of the Black law. Well, let us go look at what Moor is in Black's Law Dictionary, because you see, a lot of you don't like the facts. You only like to pick and choose what's convenient for you to push the agenda, because I know a lot of you are still confused. All right, we are diving in deep now. What is a Moor? A Moor is an officer in the Isle of Man who summons the courts for the several sheddings. The office is similar to what? An English bailiff of 800. In legal terms, in Black's Law Dictionary, that is who a Moor is. An officer in the Isle of Man. Now let us go look at the Isle of Man. Well, Chief, what is the Isle of Man? Where is the Isle of Man? Well, let's go. We are diving deep right now. We go sea diving. Just be careful of the sharks, because they are out there. They are out there to eat you. Okay? Now check this out. Isle of Man. The Isle of Man, Manx, Manning, also Manx, Ilin, Vinin, also known as Man or Min, is a self-governing what? British Crown dependency situated in the Irish Sea between Great Britain and Ireland. Moors ain't got nothing to do with being Aboriginals of America. Nothing to do with that. A Moorish American has the same status as an Irish American. A Moorish American has the same status as an Italian American. Okay? They are all immigrants on this land. Period. Let's read this again. Etymology of Moor, North African. End of story, point blank. Okay? Now, let us go. In the census, who's considered white? What? Also North Africans. That's why you have a lot of them on the internet screaming white power, because they fill out the S-181 form and they choose white. Because they are correct. They are North Africans. They are considered white. American Indians are not Moors. Okay? And then when you look at the legal definition in Black's law, it has nothing to do with North African. It's an officer in the Isle of Man. Now, what is the Isle of Man? Once again, let's go back to the Isle of Man. A self-governing British Crown dependency. Now, let us just kind of hoover over Crown dependency. It tells you right here. The Crown dependencies are 3 islands, territories of the coast of Great Britain that are self-governing possessions of the Crown. You hear that? They are possessions of the Crown. They are possessions of the Crown. Man, let us continue. Okay? Let us proceed. Now, I put in, what are the countries in North Africa? What are the countries in North Africa? The UN sub-region of North Africa consists of 7 countries at the northernmost part of the continent. Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Sudan, Tunisia, and Western Sahara. Okay? So when these people do all this commercialized sense DNAs, and they're speaking of you're from Western Sahara, what they're telling you? They're telling you that you are a Moor. You are a Moor. Come on, man. That's what they're telling you. This is all by design. It is all by design. All by design. Now, it says what? What are the countries in North Africa? It consists of 7 countries. Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Sudan, Western North Africa. Africa is an economically prosperous area, all right? North Africa is an economically prosperous area, generating 1/3 of what? Africa's total gross GDP. So what is that telling you? They have to tell you that you're from West Africa because West Africa is some of the poorest places in Africa. But North Africa is some of the most developed places in North Africa. And guess what? They are the ones who enslaved their brothers and sisters in West Africa. That's why when you go to the census, white is considered to be what? Also North Africa, the richest or some of the most wealthiest places in Africa. But guess what? You Black and African Americans, you're just Africans. Everywhere else except North Africa. Even when they put you in Africa, they tell you you are the worst of the worst. Or not, being Ghana, being all those places we consider to be where people are poor, people are uneducated, which is not true, mind you. That's not true. But I'm just showing you how the games are being played. The games are being played. So you're trying to tell me that no slaves came from Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Sudan, Tunisia, West Sahara. None. Or else you would have been considered white. Somebody got some explaining to do. But let us go even further because it says what? It says North Africa is also considered to be what? Tunisia. So let's go look at the etymology of Africa. Oh, well, Chief, let's go. Etymology of Africa. Y'all gonna learn today. Let's look at the etymology of Africa. I know there's I think a 10-second delay, so I'm waiting until it shows up on the screen. But I'm showing you how all these games are being played on people and their fooling you, all right, miseducating you because your emotions, you allow your emotions to drive you. Now, let's look at the etymology of Africa for all those of you who think you are African. All right, I'm going to show you exactly where you are from when they tell you that you are African. All right, Africa, a noun, African land, Libya, because even in 1450 BC, okay, Africa wasn't even called Africa; it was called Libya. Oh, I see. No, not 1450 BC, my fault. In 450 BC, okay, the map of Herodotus and other maps in 450 BC, that part, or what we call the continent of Africa, was not called Africa. It was called Libya. So let me ask you a question. How are you Africans again? Why aren't you Libyans? But let us look at the etymology of Africa, right? The Carthaginian territory, that's what was all called Africa. The province of Africa, Africa as a continent, feminine of adjective Africos, from Afro, an African, a word of uncertain origin. So when you say you are African, it means that they don't know who the hell you're from. You're of uncertain origin. So that means that what? What does that mean? I would like you to answer that question. Because y'all so quick to be Africans. Guess what? On the continent of Africa, people have nations. They have tribes. They have tribes, okay? They have countries. You tell me which one you're from. Now let us continue. The Latin word, guess what? The Latin word originally was used what? Only in reference to what? The region of what called what? Now, Tunisia. Tunisia, which is in North Africa, right? Now it says what? It gradually was extended to the whole continent, and I'm certainly sure that was because of colonization. Okay? So y'all better wake up, man. Wake up and realize the game that was played and the game that's being played. So when you see people on all these videos and debating and back and forth and Black lives, this and that, it is not it's only a social group. It's a social, Black is a social group. It's a social organization. And any social organization based on the census can be considered a race. And that group doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have rights. Now, you could have privileges, but you don't necessarily have to have rights. Only men and women have rights. Now, we already look at census. Now, for all those of you who are under the misconception, even when Candace Owens said, oh, well, Black people was on the plantations. Well, Candace Owens, my sister, are you aware that the first form of slavery in the Americas were the American Indian slave trade? And that the original American Indians are us. But then, after that, Queen Isabella and Ferdinand, mind you, they said, okay, you know what now? We got to have a soft spot for these Indians. So what are we going to do? They said, let's start enslaving these Caucasians, so-called white people. So Candace Owens and T.I., have you ever heard of white cargo? Have you ever heard of Christian slaves, Muslim masters, white slavery in the Mediterranean? Have you heard of white slaves, African masters, an anthology of American Barbary captivity? Did you know that so-called Caucasians and white people were slaves in the Americas before so-called black Africans? Nah, y'all don't know that, do you? Or are you refusing to acknowledge the fact? Come on, man. So let me ask you a question. If so-called white people were slaves in the Americas, you tell me who was the masters. You tell me who were the masters. You tell me. The masters were people who look just like you. You see, what y'all don't know is the so-called kings and queens in the 1600s and the 1700s, King James, King George, and the likes, they were what? They were so-called black people. And they were the ones enslaving their own people in this so-called transatlantic slave trade. You see, y'all exercise forms of hypocrisy, or you may just be ignorant because you don't know. The people you call white today, they were not the one who enslaved you. They just took over the game. How do I equate that to a drug dealer on the corner? He has all the power selling the drugs, and somebody else came and took over the game and add something more potent in the crack and start killing people. It's the same thing. The people who brought the African slaves here on the slave trade were people who looked just like them. The northern part of Africa was enslaving the western part of Africa, because at that time, the so-called Caucasian, the so-called pale man, they were also slaves. They were fighting for their own power on the other side of the world, in Britain, in Scotland, in Ireland, in Germany. They were fighting for their freedom. And when they emancipated themselves and got their freedom, and they took over the crown in England, and then the American Revolution, that's how they were able to go get help from their brothers and sisters in England. But until then, before the revolution in England, they were being controlled by you black people, you black nobles. So stop with the foolishness and the nonsense. That's why I don't play this color game. Same thing happened here in the Americas. You had so-called black slaves and so-called white slaves, so-called Asian slaves working on the plantation hand in hand. They fought together for their freedom. So let me ask you a question again. Who is the real KKK? Y'all think the Confederate flag belonged to the KKK? No, the Confederate flag was ours. In other words, it came from black people who, so-called black people who look just like you. So come on, man. So once again, tell me, what is white supremacy? Tell me, what is white supremacy? If white people are North Africans and original Europeans, if they are the original white people, if they are considered white people, now you tell me what's white supremacy. Okay, Caucasians didn't create the Ku Klux Klan, but a lot of you are actually in denial. You will deny the facts. You will deny the facts. Okay? But y'all gonna learn today. Y'all gonna learn today. That's if you want to learn today, that is. And I'm gonna conclude this video by saying this. I don't play with the color game. All right? Now y'all could say what y'all want about Chief-Kalinago. I don't care. And I don't think the Bible was written by any sky daddy. But in the Bible, it says what? And he hath made of one blood all nations of men to dwell on all the face of the earth, and have determined the times before appointed and the bonds of their habitation. What does that mean? It means that the Great Spirit made all men and put them on every corner of the earth. People are just people. Okay? People are just people. Anytime you're using your ethnicity or your genetic makeup to think that you're more superior than anybody else, you have lost your way. You have lost your way. Period. You have lost your way. Okay? And I'll leave it here. Let me stop sharing my screen. You see, y'all gotta stop playing these games, man. Y'all gotta stop playing these games. I'm not here to play no games. A lot of so-called indigenous people fighting each other right now. Okay? Fighting each other. I even have some of them coming at me. You know what I'm saying? Are they in Jersey? Oh, well, you know, you wasn't born in Jersey, so you cannot be Annie and we are. Well, that's a bunch of stupidity, but yet still, you don't own Jersey. Jersey is owned by the New Jersey government. You are still begging for rights in Jersey. But I'm here putting in some real work and y'all play a hating. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just showing you the mindset of people. That's why I say every skin folk is not kinfolk. I don't play these color games. I deal with people based on how they deal with me. You show me love, I'm going to show you love, period. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you're from. That's just me, though. That's just me. You do what you want. You be who you are. But I'm showing you that all this stuff is made up. All these things are just put in place to separate people. That's it. So stop calling people white if you don't know who they are. Clearly, it states that Caucasians are not white. You feel me? And once again, to summarize, how is that they say black people, African Americans, just Africa, but yet still they have white as North Africa? So what you trying to tell me? No slaves came from that part of Africa? Why? Because they were the ones doing the enslaving. They were enslaving their own brothers and sisters in North Africa. They were pirates, went all over Europe, all right, and terrorized so-called black people or the nobles who was in power, even in London, even in Britain, okay? You also had so-called Caucasian tribes with clan mothers. Y'all gonna learn today. And they became the subjects of these so-called black people until they started revolting and fighting, because guess what? They started having children with these so-called people. It wasn't just in so-called Europe or what y'all think. They went to the Caucasus Mountains and have children with the pale woman. That's a bunch of BS. That was only a certain demographic of what you call Caucasian people. Every so-called white person aren't the same. Just like every so-called black people aren't the same. Just like every tree is not the same tree. You feel me? And I'm talking about genetically wise. All right? That's what I'm talking about. Phenotypes. They're not the same. So all in the 1400s, who you think came here? It wasn't the Caucasian man or the pale man. No. Yes, it was white people. A status. The North Africans. Oh, I see. Chief-Kalinago broke it down today, huh? Well, guess what? I always have. But a lot of you, like I said, a lot of you in denial. All right? A lot of you in denial. All right? So all the kings and queens, Queen Charlotte, all of them, they were either so-called black or mulatto children. All right? The people you call white today didn't take over until the 1800s. They became in power, in fact, in the mid to late 1800s. They got their full power. But all went before that. Okay, 1700s, late 1700s. All the kings of Europe and all the kings who owned the Virginia Company. All right, the Netherlands, Jersey, New York, all those people, guess what? They were so-called black kings. King George, who created the colony or the state of Georgia, he was a black German. Okay? Harriet Tubman wasn't freeing no slaves from Africa, from West Africa. No, she was freeing the black nobles. She was a steward. Ah, y'all didn't know that, huh? All right. But anyway, I'm going to conclude this video by saying you got to know the truth before you just be out there. All right? Know what it means to call yourself black, or what white means, or what African means. Know all these things. Know all these things. And before all of you start thinking, oh, you all came here on slave ships and you all Africans. Guess what? Even so-called black people came here as servants, indentured servants. Some of them came from Britain. Some of them came from Portugal. Did y'all know that? So how can all of you be Africans? Come on, man. It's sheer ignorance. But I'm just here to drop the information. You do your own research. I can't tell you what to identify as. I can't tell you what to do. All right? But we have our petition. All right? It's in the description below the video. By all means, go ahead and sign it. We got work to do. All right? And right now, I'm just for the advancement of people from it's a system. You see, it's a system. The system has no color of skin. That's why when they say race, they don't identify race with color of skin, because it doesn't matter what your skin looks like. It appears that way because that's what they want you to think. Okay? They are not creating a race war. They're creating a skin war, a complexion war. That's what they are doing. Because the race war, the race war that they're promoting is about groups, social groups. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. Let me digress and kind of like change that. You feel me? The race war has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It's about social empowerment. That's what it's about. And until you so-called black people don't decide and haven't decided and figured that out yet, that it's about social empowerment and economic empowerment, then you will continue to fall and continue to think Black Lives Matter. Okay? Black is not a life. It's a social group. A social group is not a living entity. It could be a fictitious person, but it's not a life. It's not a man or a woman. It's not a people. It's a social group. That's what it is. And social groups, okay, or organizations, all right, they have to go by the laws of the people that they are subjected to. But a man or woman, all right, was born and created by the Great Spirit, what you call God, born free and have dominion over everything. So you continue to play the labels. You continue to play the game and think things is going to change. No, you are bringing the destruction on yourselves. Okay? So I hope I was able to clarify a lot of the information. Once again, this was no personal attack on any one group or specific people. Not at all. I was just dropping information for clarification because people are always asking me. And instead of just responding to everyone individually, that would take too much time, I wanted to do a video to drop the information that everybody could get the information simultaneously. Okay? Don't take my word for it. Please do your own research. Okay? That's all I'm asking. And if you continue to be a color, if you continue to be a social group, then you will continue to have social issues. Okay? So, you got some digging to do. If you're going to be African, know where in Africa you came from. The funny thing is, All right, let me just share my screen one more time. Okay. The funny thing is this: the so-called people you call white that came here as slaves, of course they're going to say indentured servants, but no, slaves. They came here as slaves. Okay. The so-called white people who came here as slaves, guess what? There are records. There are detailed records of their point of origin. There are detailed records of exactly where they came from. Now, let me ask you a question, right? Basic is that common sense is not basic. It's just common sense. Okay? Use your common sense and use discernment. If there are if there are detailed records of these so-called white people who came here as slaves in white cargo, they know exactly their point of origin, but yet still they were enslaved in the Americas before Africans. How come there's no record of a detailed record of where those slaves come from in Africa so that you black people could know exactly what tribes you came from? You see, I, Chief-Kalinago, I use my mind. I use my unlimited potential of thinking. I don't let people just tell me things and I take it as face value. That's why I'm telling you, don't take anything I say as face value. Go do your own research. That's why I'm giving you the information so that you could do your own due diligence. But I'm gonna ask you a very logical question. It is a proven fact that the people that you call white right now, they came here as slaves and pilgrims. Well, the pilgrimage came later, but they came here as slaves. And they will tell you indentured servitude to pacify, right? To put a band-aid on that word slavery. They only want you to think that it's only so-called black people who came here as slaves. What I'm here to tell you, that's a farce, that's a lie. The first slave trade on this land was American Indians being enslaved by so-called black people that first came here. That was the number one form of slavery. And then it was the so-called white people. So let me ask you a question. Again, very, very simple question. Like Lauryn Hill said, life is so simple, but you rather make it hard, right? If the white people, which is a fact, that so-called white people were slaves in the Americas before so-called black Africans, but yet still, there is detailed records of so-called white people, where they came from, every one of them. There are detailed records that they came here as slaves and where they came from. They have their point of origin. Let me ask you a question. How come you black African slaves, you came after the white people as slaves, but yet still they cannot find your records? All they just tell you is you're African. And then they say, oh, no, you're from Ghana. How is that? I'm just showing you, poking holes in his story. So-called white people who came here as slaves, they know their point of origin. They know exactly where they came from. They probably know the boat they came from. They know all that. How is that they know? But they were slaves before you. You Africans. They were slaves before you in America. So how come there's no records of that? How come they cannot show you exactly what tribes you came from, but these Caucasians know exactly what tribe they came from? Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe I'm giving y'all too much to think about. But I just wanted to clarify that one part right there. I just wanted to leave that with you. All right? So with that being said, enjoy the rest of your continuation. I appreciate, love you guys. Thank you for the time. Thank you for your energy. And please do your own due diligence. Do your research. Stop being a pawn in this game. Okay? Stop being a victim and choose to be a victor. All right? We are great. We are powerful. We don't have to beg for anything. Stop being dead. Okay? Yes, granted, I never said that there weren't some so-called black slaves that came from Africa in different tribes, from different tribes. I'm not insinuating that. But the millions of people they tell you about, that's not true. Okay? And the people who were bringing them here were their own people. It wasn't the so-called white man. Stop blaming everything on the white man. Oh, the white man is the devil. The white man did this. No, the devil looked just like you. Okay? The devil looked just like you. You feel me? And look at how they are tricking people with the games. When you go look at the census, they speak of Hispanic. They will say Dominican Republic is Hispanic, but yet still Haiti and Dominican Republic, they're on the same landmass. But they will tell Haitians they're from Africa, but tell Dominicans they are Hispanic. You see the games that's always being played. And people perish for the lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. All right? All right then. All right, so anyway, I'm out, man. I have an appointment in about 13 minutes, so I'm about to get out of here. I just felt it imperative to drop that information, and I love and appreciate you guys, man, and that's why I do what I do, okay? Go ahead and share the information. Don't forget to share, not share, but sign the petition. Yes, by all means, share it as well. Don't forget our American Aboriginal Walk in Washington. That's July 4th, 2020, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Come in your indigenous attire. Get there how you can. Just be safe, all right? Gathering time is 10 a.m., so we are going to make it happen, all right? Peace, love to each and every one of you. We'll talk soon.